You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone, revisited with Freddy and Joe.
Freddy and Joe. Joe and Freddy. Freddy and Joe. That's a shout out to a listener who wrote into us. Thank you.
That was nice. Sarah.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yay.
It's nice when we get nice things. That was a comment on our Patreon. If you ever considered being a patron, how we pay for doing all these shows, hosting them, blah, 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 all the things we do. Mostly, like 99% of our income comes from Patreon, patreon.com/NOTLP. You get this show without ads there, the main show without ads, a bunch of bonus stuff. And Sarah is one of our patrons and very kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're probably hearing this much later after the fact from when it happened because we record these slightly in advance. So we didn't forget about you.
Nope.
So we're going to be talking about Night of the Meek. This one's kind of like one of the most touching of the entire series, I think. Air date December 23rd, 1960. This is the third of 4 episodes directed by Jack Smite. He did The Lonely in the first season. That was the one with, if I remember right, isn't the guy on the planet with a robot girlfriend?
Yeah, that's a sad one too. It's kind of touching when you think about it.
Yeah. Then The Lateness of the Hour, which was another videotape episode. And 22, which we haven't done yet, which is also, I think, maybe the last videotape one they did. So he did like 4 of the 6.
Interesting.
Directed them. Again, no cinematographer because this was shot on video. It's basically just the director. And I would guess Rod Serling, I think, was probably pretty hands-on because he did a lot of work in live television. And they produced this like a live TV program where it was all on big sets. It is lit in a way that the video is so clearly video. And they say this in the commentaries on the Blu-ray too. And I had this thought where I'm like, you can tell there's no like cinematographer, but also like this episode, the video really kind of works in its favor and sometimes in a weird way. Cause it makes it feel, like you're there a little more. It's a little more present.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I thought in my mind, I was like, man, if this were on film, I bet it would be so beautiful and everything. But then I'm like, I only know this episode this way. I've seen it so many times, and like to extract it and change anything about it, I feel like, I'm a no on that. I like it the way it is. It feels like a play. It's a cast of 22. So a pretty big cast, but a lot of those are shoppers and men in a like a soup kitchen setting. But your main cast, you have Henry Corwin, who's a loaded Santa Claus. He's drunk to the gills, played by the legendary. I don't say that. That's not an understatement. Art Carney, who Arthur William Matthew Carney. That's a big long name. Catholic, I suppose. Was an American actor, and he was a comedian. He was best known as being Ed Norton. We talked a little bit about this last week on The Honeymooners, and he was in the Star Wars Holiday Special, the infamous Star Wars Holiday Special, a very big role in that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He was like I don't know if just friends with the Wookiees and that, and kind of a smuggler kind of character, maybe.
I can't remember, but that show is so, we don't have to go into it here, but it is infamous for a reason. It's so bad.
It is.
I mean, my personal opinion, I couldn't finish it. I started watching it and I was like, this is painful.
It's nightmarish.
Yeah. Even if you like cheesy, cringy stuff, it's so bad.
You know what though? I have a soft spot for it regardless, but it is nightmarish. But Riff Tracks did a great job with it, where they make it so worth watching. If you look up Star Wars Holiday Special Riff Tracks, I think you can probably stream it on YouTube and a lot of places.
Oh my!
It's so perfect for that. And
awesome.
It's such a weird Christmas thing. And it's kind of, I like to mention it in with Night of the Meek. It's kind of the flip side of how classy Night of the Meek is. That's how crass and weird Star Wars Holiday Special is. It's like a mirror image.
At least it introduced Life Day. So,
that's true.
What else are you going to do?
And that, I can't remember, the one Wookiee's name was like Scabby or something weird like that.
Scabby.
Something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Infectia.
Yeah. Oof. So I would say Art Carney's performance as this Santa character is maybe like one of the best performances in the series. And maybe top 10. There's a lot of episodes, so that's saying something. Mr. Dundee. This is John Fiedler, who's going to come back in Cavender is coming later on. This actor, I love this actor. He's Piglet. I mean, on the Winnie the Pooh.
I was going to say Piglet. He's got such a distinctive voice. That's got to be something else.
Yeah, and if you watched the old Bob Newhart, not the one in the end, but the one where he's the psychiatrist, he was on there a lot. Mr. Peterson, he was the voice of Mr. Peterson, he was in Star Trek. He played, I think, Jack the Ripper, if I remember right. Just crazy roles and such an interesting voice. So again, if you look up, I recommend kind of just looking at his IMDb page, John Fiedler, not Fielder, Fiedler, but spelled like Fielder with the D in the all swap. Flaherty, Robert P. Lieb. This was the cop who he was on Alfred Hitchcock Hour, Charlie's Angels, One Step Beyond, and he was on Alf.
Oh man,
he was all over the place.
Those who remember from the 80s Alf sitcom, which was just something else. It was its own mythology all to itself.
Yep. It was an alien living with a family, pre-American dad.
An alien life form, thus Alf.
Yeah.
Yes.
He ate cats.
Yeah. He's from Melmac.
On Melmac, they eat cats. There was a cartoon. Remember that?
Yeah. Stuffed animals. I used to have one.
Yeah, I loved Alf.
Yeah.
He kind of had a vaudevillian kind of style with the dialogue and everything.
Yeah, very take my wife, please.
Yep. We have Bruno the bartender, Val Avery. This guy's just grizzle. He's human gristle.
He's so grisly.
He appeared at Friday the 13th, the series, something that's near and dear to my heart. I love that show. I know it's kind of bad, but I love it anyway. He was in the movie Cobra, which we just covered during our Canon series of podcasts about Canon films.
Oh man, Cobra.
Yeah, he's one of the police chiefs, maybe. He's like a high-ranking police guy in that, if I remember right. He was in the Amityville Horror, the original Amityville Horror, and tons of other stuff. Again, Val Avery's worth looking up his IMDb because you probably know him from something. And but he is just in this just a gruff bartender character who plays a kind of a small part but an important part in the story. We get to Sister Florence at the soup kitchen scene. And this is Meg Wiley, who she was in The Last Starfighter. You remember they lived in like the trailer park and everything in that movie before the kid takes off to space. This is a great movie if you've never seen.
I need to go revisit that one. There's a whole lot of 80s movies that I just have avoided generally.
Last Starfighter holds up beautifully, I think.
Nice.
It's really a good movie. She was on a ton of 80s sitcoms too, but the thing that's really fun is if you watch the very first episode of the original Star Trek, where they have like the people who are holding the Pike and them, the aliens, they have the big bulbous heads.
Oh, the butt heads.
Yeah, she's like the leader of them, which, you know, I always thought was a man, but it's actually her playing that character with this big bulbous head, and they dubbed the voice. But she's the sister who's wearing like a bonnet and talking to all these. She's running this Christmas service for all these homeless guys.
She's very severe. Yes,
she has a very unique look.
Sister Florence.
Sister Florence. And then the last character I kind of wanted to mention. There's 22 in this. There's all kinds of people, but Bert. He's the old man in that same scene who he's going to come back. And the reason I want to mention him, he comes back and kick the can, which is another very touching episode. Bert Mustin was his real name was Bert, and he's playing a character named Bert, assuming my notes were taken out correctly. But he was a salesman before he became an actor in 1921. He's been in Gunsmoke, Alfred Hitchcock, all the Alfred Hitchcock series they did for TV, The Outer Limits. He was on All in the Family and The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, which is a really fun movie if you've never seen it. And he's just a sweet old man character almost all the time. He just has a sweet face. But yeah, so those are the nuts and bolts. You want to get into the story, Joe?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So episode begins and we're in a department store and with a Santa Claus chair with no one in it. And the manager's walking around the store, kind of consoling people like, oh, no, you'll be back. You'll be back. And he actually does make an announcement at one point that Santa Claus should be back by 6 o'clock. And we jump to Santa Claus, who is taking a shot in a bar. And the bartender behind the bar is spraying a Merry Christmas message in foam on the mirror, which I don't know if you remember that, Freddie. I don't know if they still make that.
Yeah.
But like it used to be a foam you could spray and it would kind of solidify.
Yeah,
and
I use it sometimes. Like, I don't know if it's good for you or not, but like I would use it on like mirrors in the house at Christmas time. But now I don't so much because I know I have to clean it later. But
right, because you can like scrape it off with a razor blade or something. But
yeah,
I always figured that stuff was probably pretty toxic. But
it smells like spray paint.
Ew.
You know, but once the smell's gone, it's kind of a nice effect. But that bartender misspelled Mary, if I remember right. I think he only put one R in it.
Yeah, I think so too. Now that I think about it, that's so funny. It was cursive though. It was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So the bartender turns around and says, "Hey, you told me to tell you when it was 6:30. It's 6:30." And Santa's kind of, got that dazed look on his face, and it's like, "That's right. It's exactly 6:30. So." And the bartender goes, "So what happens now? You turn into a reindeer?" And Santa goes, "Would that I could. I'll have another one." So the bartender gets him another one and says, "You owe me for 6 drinks and a sandwich. That's $3.80.
That sounds like so good.
$3.80 for 6 drinks and a sandwich? Damn.
Oh, if only.
Wow. So Santa fumbles for his money, and as he's doing so, there's 2 kids like knocking on the door of the bar, and the doors have these big glass windows, actually really lovely doors. Dunk, 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 and they're smiling through the glass and like waving like little kids do, which
is so cute.
Again, this episode's very like kind of this is how it is sort of real, and
it's enough to make you cry. That moment of the super drunk, just totally at the end of his rope. Santa in the foreground and the kids who just love him and they don't see any of that. And then their noses are pressed on the glass. It makes you want to cry. At least that's how you're just like, oh, they don't know how bad it is for him.
Right. Which is really great about this episode to show that kind of contrast. And I think that it comes out in some of the dialogue and all that. I think they really did again, Twilight Zone does an excellent job of showing like the contrast and like the reality of the situation to get you to really understand it without having to say, "Oh, look, these kids are so innocent. They don't realize that this is the situation that this guy's in. It's really rough." And how much stuff you hide from kids and all that. So, but it's kind of cute because he gets out his money and then he's smiling and he's waving at the kids, it's really sweet. And so as he turns back to the bartender, he looks directly into the camera. And again, this is one of those moments where I think they made certain decisions. Art Carney or Santa Claus, Corwin, is looking right into the camera and says, "Why do you suppose there isn't really a Santa Claus?" And the bartender says, "How's that?" He goes, "Why isn't there a real Santa Claus for kids like that?" And it's one of those moments where the bartender goes in and is like, "Oh, you're letting that suit go to your head. And you know what your problem is this and that." And
he says he's not a philosopher, right? Which is interesting because the term philosophy and philosopher comes up, I think, a few times throughout the episode.
Yeah. And it's like that reflection on the meaning of Christmas and a lot of that sort of stuff, which again, in modern movies, it's like it can be fun or whatever. You do Red Alert or what was it? Red Alert.
The movie, the real bad one.
Code Red
with the action
The
movie
Rock
one.
And
that is maybe for me. That's up there with Star Wars Holiday Special, as far as being bad. Personally,
yeah. It's real bad, but I mean, like
Red
there's moments
One,
in that
I think was the name.
Red
right?
One, yeah, with J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
which I love J.K. Simmons.
I do too.
Doesn't matter where. But they do it modern ways. They're trying to give that message. But this is one of those where it's like, it's kind of not a gut punch exactly, but it's kind of like, no, come on. This is this is real. So deal with it.
They don't bury it in any bullshit at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of unvarnished, which I really like. And so he gives Corwin his change, the bartender does, after talking about, what am I, a philosopher? And Corwin's like, I tell you what, we'll flip you double or nothing. And the bartender's like, this isn't Monte Carlo. Go eat your sandwich and get out of here, you know. And then there's a moment, another one of those subtle moments. And I think, again, this is when you talked about the legendary Art Carney. He goes, I've had enough to eat. And there's just enough of a pause in there where you're like, oh, but he wants to keep drinking.
Yeah, it's like the Dracula line. I don't drink wine.
And so it just enough of a pause in there where you're like, oh, he's man, he just wants to keep going. And you know, and we know as the audience, he was supposed to be back by 6 o'clock, and now it's at least 6:30 now. And there's a phone rings, and the bartender answers it. And this comes up a couple of times in the episode, which is funny. He's like, Jack's place. And he's like, nah, Jack's not here. This is Bruce. And that exact that line comes up later. For some reason, he's talking to the cop, but we'll get into that. But it just kind of made me laugh. How he's like, no, I'm not Jack. I'm Bruce.
Jack's never there.
Yeah. The real story is about Jack. What's going on with Jack?
Was his name Bruce? I think it might have been Bruno. Didn't he?
I thought it was Bruce.
Was it Bruce? It might have been.
I'm pretty sure it was Bruce. Yeah.
I might have written it down wrong.
Why do I have Bruno in the head, though? Because I feel like I read Bruno recently.
Bruno. Maybe it's a typo in the credits or some shit on IMDb.
Ooh. Oh, I did notice. Okay, so I looked at IMDb, the quotes for this. IMDb had all kinds of little weird errors. Lots of things that it left out. And the text. What I like to do is when I take notes on the episodes, I'll actually write it down as it is in the video.
Yeah.
And it's very often it's different than what they've got in IMDb, or it's different even than what they have in the closed captioning, which is really interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, sometimes those closed captionings are pulled straight from scripts. And then the actor made a choice and doesn't match. Yeah.
Right. And so, so the bartender gets a phone call, answers, hey, Jack's not here. I'm Bruce. And Corwin slowly reaches for a bottle on the bar. And the bartender catches his wrist. He says, Santa Claus, I catch you trying that one more time, and I'm going to break both your arms up to the shoulder blades. Now go on, get out of here. Yeah.
Up to the shoulder blades. That's a classic detailed threat of violence right there.
Right. And so he goes back to the phone. He's like, what's that? Nah, it's just Santa Claus trying to heist the joint. So Corwin gets up to his feet and slowly walks to the door, and he flips Bruce a coin. He goes, thanks, Bruce. And he, flips him a coin and stumbles outside. And he's not like surly or anything. He's kind of happy and stumbling around outside, and snowing outside. And there's a couple of kids nearby that are like super excited to see him, which again, is like that innocence that like, oh, it's Santa Claus. You can't tell that he's sopping drunk. And he slowly kind of ambles in front of a car, which honks at him as it goes by. And he falls over on the other side of the road, grabbing a lamppost to break his fall. And the kids run over and they start asking him for all kinds of gifts, like a doll and a gun. The boy's like, I want a gun.
The whole time this fake snow machine is just cranking out flakes. And I love the idea of this being like this giant set and them driving a car through it and having like snow and everything else.
Again, with the video, you see the car come through, and I thought, oh yeah, they'd have to have a pretty big set to drive the car through. Anyway, it's cool. And then they're listing off all these things they want and these different toys. But then the girl says like, I want a job for our daddy. And the boy's like, we want a big turkey for Christmas dinner. And Corwin just starts sobbing, He's hearing
it got me too, man. I'd lump in my throat as soon as they're like, a job for daddy and fucking food.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are asking for that,
Yeah.
So he's sobbing. And then, excuse me, we get Mr. Serling's voiceover. This is Mr. Henry Corwin, normally unemployed, who once a year takes the lead role. Sorry, let me start that again because my alarm was going off. This is Mr. Henry Corwin. One more time. This is Mr.
This is like the real outtakes. He probably had to do this too.
Sterling, blah, blah. Let me try it again. One more smoke.
I want to mention, though,
yeah,
about that happens several times in this episode where someone flubs a line like in a play and they recover so professionally you can't tell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're so good. There's a couple of moments, and then the commentaries on the Blu-ray, they'll point them out. But like, it's the difference between like shooting on film and video too. Like they just wanted to keep, they shot, I think, everything like in order, and it ran like a play, and they just wanted to keep moving. And
interesting.
I think that's why it feels so different than a lot of the other episodes.
Because, yeah, well, that's interesting. We'll have more, because it really does show the difference between film and video. Because I do occasionally find a flub on the film, but it's much more rare, you know?
Yeah.
So he says, this is Mr. Henry Corwin, normally unemployed, who once a year takes the lead role in the uniquely popular American institution, that of the department store Santa Claus in a road company version of The Night Before Christmas. But in just a moment, Mr. Henry Corwin, ersatz Santa Claus, will enter a strange kind of North Pole, which is one part of the wondrous spirit of the Christmas and one part the magic that can only be found in the Twilight Zone.
I love to, at this, where they are blending, they somehow managed to take traditional Christmas music and make it sound like it was written for the Twilight Zone in moments throughout the episode. Especially like Noel is used really effectively. And it's a very sad performance. And it has melancholy like dripping out of all the music and those, you know, in Art Carney's eyes.
It's not done. It doesn't feel like it's done like maudlin way, you know. Right. It's not like played for sadness. It's just kind of slowed down a little bit. It's almost like you think of the modern pop music that's done for trailers and stuff, where they take a popular song and make it sad.
So overdone and badly done most of the time.
Yeah. Whereas this is just kind of like, it's slowed down just enough where you're like, oh, I love this song, but it's sad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's different about it? Oh, yeah, it's just slowed down a bit.
It's paced to the episodes.
Yeah.
The gate of the episode, like GAIT gate of the episode, like in the music, it doesn't feel like anything's forced. It still gives you that warm Christmassy feeling, but it has so much sadness in it that it makes it all the more like sweet.
Totally. So now Corwin, now in the department store, we clip to, walks up and starts playing with a big train set that was shown earlier in the episode. Pretty quickly crashes the trains. And he turns to the kid next to him. He goes, "You should see me with erector sets."
The kids seem to be having a good time with him.
Yeah, it was really cute. It was funny. And then the department store manager comes up, grabs him right away, and he's like, "Corwin, you're an hour late." I can't quite do his voice.
It's very high.
And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And he goes, "Now you get up there on your throne and you see if you can keep from disillusioning a lot of kids that not only isn't," he says this so complicated, "keep from disillusioning a lot of kids that not only isn't there a Santa Claus, but the one in this store happens to be a wino who'd be more at home playing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now get with it, Santa Claus."
Yeah, and he's not unreasonable in this moment, because what he's dealing with, it's not like the store manager is painted as any kind of villain.
Right.
He's just kind of doing his job, and he's stressed out.
Yeah, and later they play him for a little bit of a villain with like, he's kind of delighted to see Corwin in a bad way, but we'll get to that
briefly.
Yeah, he's kind of like, he's kind of pissed, and he's just like, okay, look. So Corwin makes his way kind of unsteadily to the chair and the dais. It's kind of raised up there, and the first mom in line is like, the kid's like, doesn't want to go up there, and she's like, he won't hurt you, tell my boy, you won't hurt him, will you? And then she's like, "Get up there." And she shoves her kid up there, which is just like, oh man. Like, if your kid doesn't want to sit with Santa, what the hell?
Very Christmas story.
But yes, exactly. So he stumbles up there, and the boy asks him his name is Percival Smithers. It's like, ooh, I was like, Principal Smithers? No. No, it wouldn't have been Principal.
Mr. Smithers.
Yeah, Mr. Smithers.
Super Nintendo Chalmers.
And he asks for a new front name for Christmas.
Yeah.
And you can see Art Carney on the side of it, like smiling, you know? And then he leans forward and he goes, I think we have, and then falls into the gifts, which is sad. And like the whole crowd gasps.
Yeah.
But the part of that like I look back and it makes me laugh is that he's asking for a new first name, and he's like, "Oh, I think we've got," trying to reach for something that has a new first name in it or something. Anyway, there's a big gasp. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that this scene, again, there's so much great material in these Blu-ray commentaries, but they were like they were tracking the kind of the inspiration for this story and what it inspired. Going forward. They were like they believe that the inspiration was in the movie A Miracle on 34th Street. That the real Santa replaces a drunk Santa in a scene, and they think that Serling, the theory is Serling wanted to just pick up that drunk Santa story and tell.
Oh, interesting.
And then they also say, again, I'm quoting the Blu-ray commentary, so I haven't verified any of this stuff, but that the movie Bad Santa with Billy Bob Thornton was inspired by this episode of The Twilight Zone and this scene in particular.
Interesting. So he stumbles forward and the crowd gasps, and Percival goes, "Look, Mom, Santa Claus is loaded." And the mom's like, "Oh my," they're like, she tells him he ought to be ashamed, and he says, "Ma'am, I am ashamed." It's like, oh, damn, it's like very real that way, And so customer, she complains, and she's like, "We're never shopping here again." And he apologizes, and
she says, "We'll never trade here again." She's using some
trade here, some weird
someone who names their kid Percival would use. Yeah.
We'll never stride through this establishment henceforth. Yeah. Anyway, so the manager comes up there and he's like, "You know what? We're close to closing time. It's my pleasure," which is where I'm like, "Oh, come on, you're digging in a little bit." Which again, he's a drunk Santa. You don't do that, Yeah. So I see it both ways. And he's like, "My pleasure to say we no longer need your services. Get out of here." And Corwin kind of stumbles away, and the manager's continuing to lay into him as like, and return that suit, because otherwise you're going to mess it all up, and you're going to, live your life as a lousy drunk. And Corwin kind of stops, and you think, uh-oh, is he going to come back and lay into him? But he comes back, and he's like, "As to my drinking, this is indefensible, and you have my abject apologies. I find of late that I have very little choice in the matter of expressing emotions. I can either drink or I can weep, and drinking is so much more subtle." Like, whoa.
It's such a good line. This episode has some of the best dialogue I think Rod Serling wrote is in this episode.
In fact, I kept the whole next part of this, which is the whole piece, so it goes back and forth. So the manager says, "Will you please leave?" He goes, "But as for my insubordination, I was not rude to that woman. Someone should remind her that Christmas is more than barging up and down department store aisles and pushing people out of the way." And the manager's like, "Now, Corwin," and he continues, "someone has to tell her that Christmas is another thing finer than that. Richer, finer, truer. And it should come with patience and love, charity, compassion. That's what I would have told her if you'd have given me the chance." And so the manager's kind of trying to shove him off again. He's like, "Well, how philosophical, Mr. Corwin. Now, perhaps as your parting word, you can tell us how to go about living up to these wondrous Yule standards which you have so graciously laid down for us." It's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe he will. And he's like, "I don't know how to tell you, Mr. Dundee. I don't know at all. All I know is that I'm an aging, purposeless relic from another time, and I live in a dirty rooming house on a street filled with hungry kids and shabby people, where the only thing that comes down the chimney on Christmas Eve is more poverty. It's like, will you keep your voice down? It's just speaking truth, right? And then this last piece. Do you know another reason why I drink, Mr. Dundee? So that when I walk down the tenements, I can really think it's the North Pole and the children are just elves and I'm really Santa Claus bringing a bag of wondrous gifts for all of them. I just wish, Mr. Dundee, that on one Christmas, only one, that I could see some of the hopeless ones and the dreamless ones. Just on one Christmas, I'd like to see the meek inherit the earth. That's why I drink, Mr. Dundee, and that's why I weep.
Something else.
It's gorgeous. And as he's doing this, they're showing the faces of the children kind of staring up at him, and they're listening. And it's just hitting me now that they show the kids are not milling about. They're not doing something else. They're all listening to this conversation. They're all looking up at Santa Claus. And like you're seeing their faces as they're
the haves.
Listening to this.
These are the kids of the people who are the haves. And they're hearing this, which is something that, the parents of those kids probably want to protect them from. It's like Siddhartha, or whatever, where when you leave the palace and you realize that there's people suffering in the streets. All these kids are kind of having that moment with Santa Claus.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because, again, this is one of those things that we talk about, issues with like our current society and stuff that we're running into, is that we just don't see each other living like each other. The when we get into the theys and the thems and the they believe and they do this and they're this evil thing, and it's like, look, these people are human beings just like you, regardless of what side of this argument you're on. Impinging on rights and all that sort of stuff is not like cool, but there are people who justify it in different directions because of their beliefs. And it's like, yeah, but like if you can take just those pieces out of it, which again are fundamental and I get why not, but like people are just pretty much the same, and if you can get out of all the privilege, you start to see that there's so many more problems that we could solve together than we could, trying to argue over the nuances of stuff.
But even the arguments still exist within this world, even, you know what I mean? At the end, it's not like he does. I think he does change the sheriff and the store manager in some core way, and he influences those kids in some core way. But they don't overstate the impact of, like in a movie like The Santa Claus, which I did not see when it came out, but I saw years later. And for me, I'm not personally a fan of the movie at all. It doesn't touch me the way that this episode of the Twilight Zone touches me. And I think part of it is it goes so broad and big, and the message is so big, and it's trying to, apply it to much larger swaths of people and everything. And this just feels like this was an isolated thing that happened in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he's suddenly Santa Claus until the very end. They kind of hint at that. But like this idea that it was all contained with these certain people that were really close proximity wise in his life to begin with, which is a nice message. It's kind of something you can do on your own too.
Yeah. Well, so I'll finish synopsizing. We can digress after that. So he basically walks out. He's still in his outfit. He stumbles over the bar. He wants to have another drink, but he's not allowed to get back in by Bruce. The bartender, he's like, nah, it's just Santa Claus. He's a lush, So he sends him back out, or doesn't let him come in. And he's walking down the alley, and he hears sleigh bells. And he's like, what? And he hears a cat, and it jumps off of this big burlap sack. And as the cat jumps down, the sack falls down, and it's full of just cans, just a bunch of empty cans. So it's garbage. And he kind of trips over it, and he hears the sleigh bells again, and he's like, something happens. Like he has a reaction to it, and he whips around, and all of a sudden the bag isn't full of cans. It's a bunch of gift wrapped packages. And he just immediately was like, oh, you see just an instant change, and he's super excited. He scrambles up and he just gathers all the gifts up. He's like, everybody, Merry Christmas, everybody, Merry Christmas. And so he starts yelling to everyone. And it clips to the woman singing Joy to the World, again in a mission house or something like that. And a group of men singing along, and she's trying to like very forcefully lead the song. And some guy comes in and interrupts, and she's like, why would you interrupt this Christmas Eve service? And he says, I haven't been drinking in like a week, and I swear to you, Santa Claus is coming down the road. And everybody's kind of like, all the guys are kind of heckling him. And sure enough, Corwin comes in and he starts giving out gifts to everybody. And he's like, hey, I don't know, I can't explain it, but in this bag, every gift I give is something somebody wants, that person wants. And she's like, that's ridiculous. And he's like, how about you, Sister Florence? Would you like a new dress? And she's kind of like, oh, and she leaves, and he pulls out a box and he's like, hey, would you give this to Sister Florence when she gets back? Not like, I'm not going to give you a gift. He's like, hey, give this to her when she gets back. It's what she wants, And he's just delighting in this. He's handing out gifts and people are asking for a pipe and a smoking jacket and this and that.
A cane, and there's another tragic little. Oh, yeah.
So this is the beauty of that. What I love about that moment is the guy's looking at him, right? And he doesn't say anything. He's kind of like mumbling under his breath, and you can tell he's trying to talk, but he's not saying anything. And Art Carney reaches in and pulls out a cane and hands it to him. He doesn't even have to say anything, and he knows, oh, this is what this guy needs,
Yeah.
There's a subtle beauty, subtle beauty to that, where he's just kind of like, oh no, I know. You don't have to say it. Don't worry about it. I've got you. And I love that moment where it's just kind of, you hear all the talking in the background, and he hands him the cane, and then a police officer comes in, and he's like, oh, hey, Officer Flaherty. He's like, you want this? And he hands him a gift, and it's a cigar. And the officer's like, that's a nice cigar. He's kind of sniffing at it. And then he goes, he's like, do you have the receipts for all this stuff? And he's like, no, I don't. He's like, all right, well, gather up all the gifts and put them over there, and then we'll figure this out. We'll take them down to the station. I'll send for someone for it later. And Corwin's like, I'm just giving out gifts. He's like, I found this stuff. Which again, it's like, oh yeah, you found it. But he's like, I can't explain it, but yeah, I'll come with you. And so police officer takes him out, and he's following with him. He's like, don't worry guys, I'll be back. There's plenty to go around. He's just super happy and cheery about it. And what I love about this, the two of them walk out of the mission and then go down to the road, and they start walking to the police station, which is just a couple of houses down or buildings down. But they're just having a dialogue back and forth. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I was drinking, and I was Bruce at Jack's place. He's like, but cop's like, oh, I know Bruce. Just is a really cute little, yeah, the cute little dialogue. They're not arguing. They're not fighting. They're just like, he's like, no, I'm going to go with you. We'll figure this out. This lovely little dialogue between the two of them. They come back in, and clips to them in the police station, and the manager of the department store is there. And so they come in there, and he puts his bag up on the table, and they start explaining. He's like, well, we gotta. Oh, that's where the department store owner is like, I'm delighted. Can he get 10 years for this? It's like, oh, come on. Don't be a dick. Jeez. Yeah. And because he's thinking it's a bunch of stolen goods. And
I forgot about that line.
Yeah. It's like, you're kind of a jerk. Don't push this guy.
He's not really a villain. And then you're like, oh yeah, he wanted to give the poor old drunk 10 years in prison. Whoops.
He's like, well, it doesn't look good. And so Flaherty, or the department store guy starts pulling stuff out of the bag, and it's empty cans again. And the cop's like, look, I can't explain why these are cans now, but like, I say you grab your bag and get out of here, you know? And Corwin's like, look, I can't explain it either. This bag can't decide whether it wants to give out gifts or garbage, but you know, whenever I pull things out of it, they're gifts. And the department store owner's like, oh yeah, right. You pull out gifts. You know what I want? I want a bottle of cherry brandy, vintage 1903. And Corwin goes, ooh, that's a good year.
Cherry brandy's pretty good.
What's that?
Have you ever had it? Cherry brandy?
No, no.
I like it. It's pretty good. I recommend it once in your life. Yeah, I don't even drink anymore, but it's such a unique taste.
Well, it's funny because the other joke of that is he's an alcoholic. So he's like, you know, ooh, that's a good year. I know that year. So he pulls out his bag, and as the department store owner is arguing with the cop not to let him go, he pulls out a gift and sure enough, hands it to him and leaves. And he looks at it and it says, you know, to, you know, whatever the department store, I think Mr. Dundee.
Yeah, Mr. Dundee.
From Santa. And they're like, what? They're kind of looking at each other, and the cop's like, I think you need a drink.
Yeah.
Why don't you open that up? So the two of them are start drinking, and then we clip to Corwin outside, and he's giving more people gifts, and he's giving stuff to the kids, and they're just asking for stuff, and he's pulling it right out of the bag, and you hear the clock chiming in the background. Again, another one of those subtle things where it's like, they're not saying it, but this is the end of the day, right? And so the clock's chiming, and he hands out the last of his gifts, and it's empty. And he's like, that's it. Okay. So he walks over and sits down on the steps, and Bert, the one fellow who got a pipe and a smoking jacket, comes outside, and he's like, hey, you didn't get a gift. And Corwin's like, I wish I could do this every year. I said, I think this is what I wanted, you know? And so he kind of walks off and goes back to the alley where he was. And he all of a sudden hears or sees an elf. Or no, sorry. He walks in there and he sees a sleigh. And it's as slowly as he's walking, you see it coming to camera, and the sleigh is led by reindeer. And then off to the side, an elf introduced itself. And
real reindeer.
Yeah.
They brought like real reindeer in. Yeah.
Like live reindeer. And he basically says, you know, we got to get busy. Like, today was a great day. Things went well, but we got to go. We got to get a whole year to prepare for this. And he's like, are you serious? Like, he's super excited. He gets in the sleigh with the elf and, you know, kind of lets the reindeer go. And it was funny because if you watch the clip of it, they move forward just enough where the sleigh zooms into the camera and then it cuts right away.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of make-believe happening.
Yeah, about 20 feet of runway there to go through. And then the funny thing is you see the department store owner and the cop stumble out of the police station totally drunk.
Yeah.
And they're like, then they look up in the sky and they hear bells. And he says, did you see what I think we just saw? And we go, was that Corwin flying in a sleigh across the sky? And the department store owner's like, why don't you come home with me? We'll have some hot coffee with a little brandy poured into it.
Yeah.
And we'll thank God for miracles, Flaherty. And then that was it. The episode ends with the shot of the bag sitting near the trash can. And we get Mr. Serling at the end, who says, a word to the wise, to all the children of the 20th century, whether their concern be pediatrics or geriatrics, whether they crawl on hands and knees or wear diapers or walk with a cane and comb their beards. There's a wondrous magic to Christmas. There's a special power reserved for little people. In short, there's nothing mightier than the meek, and a Merry Christmas to each and all.
right here in the heart.
He doesn't say in the Twilight Zone, but you know, it's a nice message. It's very nicely wrapped up. So
I feel like I should watch this every year at Christmas time. It's just such a good, just a sweet little bit of television, man.
Yeah, okay. So there's one part of this that, as my brain goes dark with all this stuff, you know, of course I have to look at this and go, actually what they do is they find him behind one of the cans if he just dreamed this up.
The twist is he was dead the whole time.
It's the Last Stop at Willoughby.
Yeah. Oh my
or
God.
Stop at Willoughby.
That would have been so dark.
You just see like a hat sticking out from behind a garbage. No, we're not going to do that. Anyway, beautiful. It's a beautiful message. And again, played really subtly.
A different dead Santa. That's the last reveal. Is they're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, the elf took out the previous Santa because he was getting on their case too much or something. We're gonna get this drunk guy from the alley.
New hire.
Yeah. He'll be much better. Anyway, no, a beautiful story. I love it, and it's a little wish fulfillment, and it's nice, and it's got a good message across the board of just, you know, everybody seeing that we can all get along, and that some people don't have it as good, and we should try and do better in that, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely, like, as a lot of modern people on the right would call this a very socialist episode. It would be heavily, it was probably criticized at the time for that. And, you know, Rod Serling was a renowned kind of leftist character in the writing, which will get him into not necessarily trouble, but they start tinkering with these sorts of stories in the future seasons where the network gets a little more involved over conservative sponsors and stuff, not liking some of these morals and philosophies that it's, you know, churning out.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that stood out to me too is in the earlier part with in the department store, the one kid who he was talking to at the train was a kid of color, is a black kid, and he's just like, it wasn't a thing, but it's like you look back and you think, how many times in black and white film or video or any of that sort of stuff was that just like normal, you know?
Right. It was out of
normal today.
Yeah.
But it stood out, you know. It's kind of like, oh, I love that. And that, again, he was that early advocate for a lot of just why is this something we have to separate? This doesn't make sense. 4
years away from, you know, the civil rights movement in earnest. At this point. So it's all tied up in that. So
it's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just thought it was interesting, the promo for the next week's episode at the end of this one, because you're watching this really sweet story.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then there's like a gallows.
And they're getting the gallows ready to execute somebody at the end.
Yeah. Which actually, I watched ahead a little bit. I'm kind of digging this next episode.
Oh, Dust.
Yeah, well, I'll be excited to do that next week. So the next episode is called Dust, and it's kind of a little bit of a redemption story kind of thing. Again, just classic, good Twilight Zone. Good stuff.
Another variation on a theme that, like, Dust is similar to so many other episodes that just kind of take the same kind of story from a different angle. I love that. Like, some people would be like, oh, they're just repeating themselves. They're not, though, because they always kind of find a new angle to tell the story from, even if it seems like it's the same story. It's not, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all the human condition, but it's different variations.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
Right on.
Thanks, Joe.
Love it. Yeah. Thank you, Freddie.
Merry Christmas, everybody. And
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Time you're hearing this, you might have like maybe 30 days of shopping left if you're a traditionalist. In that, and also happy holidays to everybody else who may not celebrate Christmas. Enjoy.
Whatever you do it with love.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.